and we are live on another edition of the K and K Sports Show. Little smaller panel tonight. Scoops is not with us, and Mr. Kirkpatrick is not with us, but that's all right. We will get through. And my opening statement, boys. Another Sunday, another win, baby. Let's go. Big one this week. Big one. We're going to talk Carson this in the 10 o'clock Eastern hour, 10 o'clock tonight. But big one here. But listen, I'm fired up, man. I am fired up. I hope you guys are. Let's get right to it. Mr. Carson Shear, what's going on?
What's up, guys? How we doing? Good to see you guys as always. Hopefully you guys are all having a good day. Like Kurt said, Broncos-Lions this Saturday. It's going to be a really good game. Kurt and I are going to be talking about it on Kurt's Broncos show after our show tonight. And yeah, man, I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's do it.
Mr. Rosen, how are you?
Great. Doing well, guys. Good evening, everybody. Listen, talk about fired up. 3 in a row. Little Tommy Cutlets football. Monday night against the Packers. And what can I say? So excited. As crazy as this sounds, the New York Football Giants are still in the hunt for a wild card spot. And who would have thunk it 3-4 weeks ago? So all fired up. Kenny K and I will discuss that in our Giants show later this week. But hey, let's go.
A couple comments coming in. There's Kenny. Look at this trio of MVPs. Good evening, fellas. There's Scoops. Draymond suspended indefinitely. Miss y'all. These finals are really giving me the quote unquote tush push. But this is the last time you all won't see me for a while, so get ready. Scoops might be lucky he's not on tonight because I know in one of Carson's segments about disappointment, I think he knows where I'm going. Eddie's saying, our good friend Eddie, hey, Paul, hope you didn't bet any money on that score prediction you made on Monday.
I know. I knew he was going to come back and say that to me. Let's put it this way, Eddie. I was pleasantly glad that we won.
Jody Moncrief saying, let's go Broncos. He's saying, let's go. Broncos are ready, Carson. So,
yeah, Jody, it's going to be a good game, Jody. I'm looking forward to talking about it with Kurt.
Carson will be on with me at 10. Eddie's saying, Carson, by losing to the Bears, are the Lions a fraud team, Carson?
I don't think we're frauds yet, but there's definitely levels of concern. That's for sure.
All right. And Kenny's saying, Mike Goomba, let's go. Hey, exciting times, man. Giants, listen, when you guys get on your Giant show, I got a couple questions for you guys, and there's Eddie saying, surprisingly, we had 2 great games on Monday. We did.
Yeah.
2 great games.
Yeah.
All right.
I watched, I was going to say, I after the Giants ended, I watched the end of the Tennessee and Dolphin game. To see the end of that one. So, yeah, 2 great games.
Yeah, both underdogs won.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right, Mr. Rose. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well, all right, Mr. Rosen, I know I'm going to turn this over to you. You're the MC. You and Kenny did a great job with the agenda. Again, I want to give you guys a shout out for that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So we're going to do some NFL talk. And obviously the NFL is usually a marathon. And here we are. Coming up to week 15, and now it's a sprint. No more buys. It's a 4-week sprint to the finish. And as we sit here going into week 15, we have 8 leaders on the board. In the AFC, we have the Dolphins, Ravens, Jaguars, and Chiefs. In the NFC, the Cowboys, sorry, Scoops, Lions, Bucks, and 49ers. So, if anyone wants to play along with us, grab a piece of paper and something to write with. I want you to rank 1 through 8, with the 1 being the best, 8 being the worst. Your teams ranked in order of the top 8 teams who are leading the division now. So, Carson, I'll start with you. What would be your ranking, 1 through 8?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I got to go with the 49ers number 1. They've just been the most dominant, complete team in the NFL. So I'm going to put the 49ers at number 1. Number 2, I went back and forth with this a lot. I really think it's the Dallas Cowboys right now. They have been playing lights out. Dak Prescott has been really surprising me this season. Defense still a little bit concerning, but I think Dallas is right there with the 49ers. So I'm going to put them 2. Number 3, I'm going to put the Dolphins. I know they just lost, but again, I think with that offense, their explosiveness, I'm going to put Dolphins 3. Baltimore 4, I'm going to put, I'm going to put Kansas City 5, Jacksonville 6, Lions 7, and then Bucks 8.
Interesting. Okay. Kurt, what's your 8?
Wow, mine's a little different. 49. You want from top, right?
Or start with 8 and go up to 1. Doesn't matter.
Okay. 49ers 1. I'm going to go Cowboys 2, Ravens 3, Jags 4, Lions 5, Dolphins 6, the Fraud Chiefs 7, and the Atlanta Falcons 8. Let me just get a couple comments in. Eddie is saying NFL will be playing in Brazil next year. Jody's saying Chiefs for now. Young Tyrone is saying in 6 years, it's possible that the Broncos can win the AFC West if the Chiefs keep playing like that. I'm with you, man. I am with you. Listen, we're going to talk about that tonight. You want to talk Broncos tonight, Young Tyrone? Be there 10 o'clock tonight because we're talking a lot of Broncos.
They can win the division this year, Kurt.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
We'll talk.
Wide open.
We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes.
Eddie is saying those look like those helmets I used to get from the quarter machine. LOL. Eddie is saying 49ers, Ravens, Cowboys, Dolphins, Lions, Chiefs, Jaguars, Falcons.
Nice.
Eddie Murphy back 49ers, Cowgirls, Ravens, Lions, Jaguars, Chiefs, Falcons. Elijah is saying 49ers 1. Jody Moncrief is saying Broncos are top 8, and Eddie's saying Dolphins after Lions.
Okay. All right. So mine are somewhat similar. Also 49ers first. I had the Ravens. I think out of many teams, they've been playing almost consistently been better than anybody in the whole league this year. Cowboys third. Dolphins fourth. I know they lost a crazy game Monday night, but I still had them fourth. I had your Lions fifth, Carson. I still believe in them.
Nice.
The Chiefs sixth. Jaguars I put 7th only because I'm not so sure how hurt and how healthy Trevor Lawrence is, and of course the Bucks coming up 8th. Okay, so given that we have the 8 division leaders now, next question: out of those teams, which division leader will not be winning their division at the end of the year? I'll go to Kurt first.
This is tough. I listen. By the way, Elijah also had Niners, Ravens, Cowboys, Dolphins, Jaguars, Chiefs, Lions, Falcons. This is so hard, man. I'm still going to say the Cowboys. I think Eagles got an easier schedule. No offense, Paul, but they got the Giants twice. I think the Cowboys got a tougher, especially they play Buffalo this week. So I'm going to say confident that the Eagles win the division. Jody is saying the Jaguars, which is another one. I mean, I would have never thought it, but listen, they're sliding. And look over your shoulder. Look over your shoulder, Kansas City, because here we come. I mean, but for this, I'm going to say Cowboys.
Okay. Carson?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the NFC South. Right now, it's a 3-way tie for first with the Bucks, Atlanta, and New Orleans. I could see the Bucks maybe flipping the switch, and Atlanta or New Orleans jumps them. So I'd have to probably say the Bucks don't win the division.
Yeah, Kurt, I want to say your Broncos and the Chiefs flip. I'm so close to doing that, but I looked at the schedule. You
Kansas
guys
City schedule, right?
Yeah. I looked at your schedule. You guys have 3 of the same teams that you're playing, except you're playing Carson's Lions at Detroit, and they're playing at home against the Bengals with Jake Browning. So I as much as I want to say the Chiefs and the Broncos, I'm going to probably agree with you guys and say the Bucks, where I'm looking at their schedules with the Falcons and Saints. I think the Saints have a slightly easier schedule than the Bucks or the Falcons. So I think the Saints are going to squeeze in to win the South.
And he's saying, I think the Eagles will win the division. Young Tyrone, again, is going Dolphins, Niners. He just finished his Dolphins, Niners, Ravens, Dallas, Chiefs, Jags, Falcons, Lions. Kenny saying I'm going Chiefs. Bold prediction. They lose Sunday to New England and Belichick gets one last hurrah. Eddie saying Dolphins over 49ers. You're nuts. LOL. But
All right. Well, hey, everybody has their opinion,
that's
right?
it. That's
All
it.
right. All right. Let's go to question 3, which hits home with me. But after watching Tommy Cutlets play on Monday night and what he's done over the last month, as much as I've never would have thought to say this, but do the New York Football Giants, or will the New York Football Giants have a quarterback controversy between Danny Dimes Jones and Tommy Cutlets DeVito? Carson?
Yeah, I hate to say it, Paul, but I think there's definitely a controversy. The second you guys paid Daniel Jones, I'm like, all right, here we go. And then sure enough, this kid out of nowhere, Tommy Cutlets, who's probably making a 50th of what Daniel Jones is making. Not only is he winning football games, he's putting out ratings. I mean, you got this gangster Italian mob persona that he's putting out there that people love to see. There's been memes all over the internet about his agent with what he wore. I think it's great for the Giants. It brings them ratings, it brings them attention, and I think 100%. I mean, he's winning football games, and I know Daniel Jones is hurt, but yeah, I think there is a controversy.
Kurt?
Jody's saying no, crazy talk. I don't know if he's saying no, that's crazy talk. Kenny's saying if the Giants go 2-2 or better and win one game versus the Eagles, there has to be a controversy. Purdy part 2. I'm going to say, you know what? I think the 2 Eagle games are important. If he plays well, they win the game. I'm going to say, yeah. I mean, again, I think you're stuck with that contract, of Daniel Jones. But listen, I could sit here for 2 hours and say about all these quarterbacks. And listen, that includes Russ, that includes Mahomes, that includes Dak, that includes, Rodgers. I don't know if teams are seeing that, you're signing these big quarterbacks. I mean, listen, the Giants are a better team if they could get Tommy DeVito and spend all that money around him. They're going to be better than having a $40 million Daniel Jones. So I'm going to say there's a possibility. I do.
Yeah. I'm going to say it this way. Obviously, no one expected DeVito doing what he's doing. You know me. You guys know me. I love Daniel Jones. I thought, especially after last year, he was going to take the next step up. However, with the injuries that he's had, where I think there might be a controversy? If he's not ready to come back and next year DeVito starts the first game, they win. The second game, they win. Now all of a sudden they're 2-0, they're rolling. And by the third game, Daniel Jones is now healthy to come back. Then what the hell do the Giants do? Do they stay with the hot guy or they stay with their $40 million guy? That's where the rubber's going to meet the road, and it's going to be really, really interesting. So,
well, I got a question for you. Actually, Mark saying, hey, guys, go G-Men.
Hey, Mark.
Elijah saying I could see debates for Tommy and Daniel. However, I think it comes down to these last 4 games and playoffs. If they make it, I do see Tommy playing well with this team if all goes well. Eddie saying I like DJ, but you also got to look at it. The defense is finally playing good the last 4 games, and TD has had the same O-line and a healthy Barkley. Daniel Jones hasn't had a consistent O-line. I got a question for you, Paul. And Kenny, me and Kenny were talking about this. I believe it was yesterday or today. Do you think the fans or the decision, listen, these fans love Tommy DeVito. The fans have not been Daniel Jones fans, especially the way he's played this year. Kenny was saying, do you agree with him on this, where if they, here we go, Daniel Jones, it's you, just like you said, and the Giants are winning. I mean, these fans can turn on Daniel Jones like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Does that matter into a decision?
I don't think so. I mean, it's so ironic because about a year ago they were cheering him on as they win the wild card, beating the Colts, and he's, they took him out of the game, and the fans are giving him a standing ovation. So you know how fickle fans are. Giant fans want to see the team win, But that being said, I mean, I belong to a lot of Giant groups, and the hatred for this guy is unparalleled. I don't think I've ever seen a New York athlete, and I've been around a long time, that's felt the vitriol that this guy has received. I mean, he didn't ask to be drafted sixth. He didn't ask to be put into the spotlight. He just is doing his job. For whatever reason, the fans just don't like him. So, I mean, the minute he misses an open Darren Waller on 3rd and 5, the boos are going to start to come down. Or if he fumbles the ball after he's hit by Micah Parsons, the boos are going to start coming down. So it's hey, we always say this: New York is a tough place. It's not like playing in any other city in the country.
Yep.
So you got to have a thick skin. But yeah, the sometimes the pressure of a player going badly in New York might make a management, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, possibly make a determination. But
Carson,
we'll see.
Before I get to you, I'm going to ask you a different question. Eddie's saying, I wonder what DeVito jersey sales have looked like since he took over. Our good friend Clayton is checking in with us saying, hey guys, what's up,
Clayton?
Eddie Murphy then is saying New York fans are crazy. Eddie Murphy's also saying they turned on Daniel Jones when he had a horrible game against the Eagles in the playoffs. Jody Moncrief is saying, did the Giants have a quarterback controversy with Hostetler and Sims? Eddie then is saying fans are more upset he fleeced the Giants for all that money when in reality he was maybe worth $25 million a year. Clayton is saying Denver Broncos for life. We are playing lights out defense. Absolutely love it. Coaching. Absolutely love. Clayton, tune in. Carson's going to be my guest tonight, 10 o'clock tonight, all Broncos show. So tune in for that, Clayton, please. Carson, I'm going to come back to you. Do you think, I mean, you don't have this situation in Detroit, but do you think a fan base, right? Like worried about a team turning on a quarterback, booing. Do you think that should go into any at all consideration when like you said, should we stick with Daniel Jones? Should we go to DeVito on a quarterback controversy? Do the fans matter? Like, does that matter, you think?
I think you have to play the best player, period, no matter what the contract is. And I think every single team in the NFL is different. It's funny you said that, Kurt, because Jared Goff hasn't been playing well the past couple of games. And we'll talk more about it on your show later. But there's a lot of noise around Hendon Hooker saying, hey, look, if you don't show up and win us a playoff game, we might hand the keys to this guy coming off the bench we took in the 3rd round. So I think, yes, because the fans make the game special, and I think ratings definitely matter, but I think every single team's in a different situation based on the salary cap, how many years left on his contract, if you're going to franchise tag him. So I get the controversy, quote unquote, with Paul's Giants and Kenny's Giants, because you got a guy who, in my opinion, you overpaid, and now you're stuck with them. And then you got this kid coming off the bench who's bringing in ratings, and he's playing well, and he's winning football games. So I think the fans do play a factor.
Clayton is saying what time he lives in Wisconsin. Oh, it's going to be 9:20. If it's 7:20, it'll be 9:20 your time. We're going on, Carson and I. Jody is saying, Carson, I was listening to Detroit radio, and callers were saying that they're talking about the Hooker talk. Well, I said Hooker talk like that, but
yeah, he's right. Yeah, all day today. I mean, Hendon Hooker. If Jared Goff screws up, Jared Goff hasn't played well the past couple of games, so. I mean, it's a make or miss league. You got to show up every week. And if you don't, if there's a guy on the bench who, is, you got to play whoever the best player is. You can't look at the contract. You got to say, is this guy better than this guy? Who gives us the best chance to win a football game? You have to play him.
I mean, look what the 49ers are the perfect example.
Yeah.
They play the last player picked in the draft. They have a guy that they traded up a million draft picks for, and they could have played him, and they wound up playing Purdy. So, yeah.
Here's the comment of the night. Eddie saying, Kurt, it's a PG show. Save the Hooker talk for 10 o'clock. All right,
Of
Paul,
course.
I'm sorry. We got on that note a little, so I know you.
That's
have
all right.
to get to.
Yeah. All right, Carson. Why don't you take the ball and run with Carson's corner?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, so I got a couple topics that I'll share your guys' thoughts. Feel free to chime in the chat as well, guys. We were kind of debating back and forth what we were going to talk about. So just really quickly, I know it's been kind of spiraling out of control over the past weekend, where the Chiefs did lose to the Buffalo Bills. That was a great game. Bills beat them 20-17. And the controversy, I don't even think it's a controversy. I think it's just overreaction. Is Mahomes was crying and complaining about the refs because Kadarius Toney was offsides. And I think, in my personal opinion, he's more upset because Travis Kelce made an amazing play on that play that cost them the game. But the bottom line is, if you broke the rules, if you lined up off sides, I'm sorry, what are they supposed to just give you the touchdown and say, oh, let's just pick up the flag? I've had many flashback horror stories with refs picking up flags in Detroit. But yeah, if you break the rules, I'm sorry. Sorry, like that's the way the cookie crumbles. You can't be complaining after you're in your post-game conference. So just really quickly, guys, the Chiefs have lost 3 of their last 4. As a Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce fantasy football owner, I think, and anybody else who has them, they have not lived up to their expectations that everybody thought that they would. So the question becomes, do you guys think the Chiefs are overrated? Yes or no? Paul?
Yeah, I heard Taylor Swift is now going to come to New York and want to be Zach Wilson's girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. You know what it is? I think they're having that Super Bowl championship hangover.
Mhm.
I think every time, regardless of the sport, you go out and win the championship, every team has your number. You have a target on your back, and you're going to play whoever you're playing, and they're going to play twice as hard. And I think they're finding that out now, number one. Number two, I think early in the year when they were playing a little better, they were masking a lot of their deficiencies. Their wide receiving core is nowhere near what it was. I think we're seeing a Patrick Mahomes that used to be Superman, and now he's just Clark Kent at times. And I think it's becoming more and more evident that they don't have the team that can fully compete. And lastly, you can't have it both ways. Sometimes you get the calls from the refs, other times you don't. And to start crying a river about having a guy who was completely offside, well, you know what? We complain when the refs don't call a play. Now that they make the call, it just so happened that they made an unbelievable play on that. Oh, well, if it had been an incomplete pass, no one would have said anything. So I think they are a little overrated at this point. And if they don't get their act together, they better look back, because they might be getting a Rocky Mountain high from the team that's following them in the standings.
Kurt, what do you think?
A couple comments. Eddie saying, I think something shouldn't be called if it has nothing to do with the play. Mark is saying they told Andy Reid 4 times he was offsides. Eddie Murphy and Carson, I'll come back to this question for you. Kenny saying, I'm looking forward to Kurt's comments on this. Mine are yes, overrated. Besides Kelce, there is no one playing above average on offense, and Kelce hasn't been Kelce the past couple of weeks. You know what I'm going to say about this, Carson, is I just think it was so asinine with Mahomes, how he made a statement of, don't you really want to see how it really plays out and let the players decide? Well, a year ago, I watched an AFC championship game out, you got a 15-yard out of bounds call that gave you 3 points. And in a Super Bowl on a 3rd down play, I saw them just hand you 3 points.
Yeah.
So where was that? Carson, you nailed it. He was offsides. I'm sorry, it's the stupidest thing to make that statement. And you know what? I think it's getting to him, because you know what? What's the word? The blueprint has been there, right? Take away the deep shots, and that's why, again, he's not worth $50 million. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not Brady. He's not Elway. He's not Manning. He's not. He's a great player. I'm not going to give him that, but you could just see it. But my thing is, what has this general manager done? What have they done the past couple of years? They traded Tyreek Hill for what? 2 second-round picks it was, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They replaced them with nothing, like nothing. So I don't know. I think they're in trouble, and we'll talk about this a little bit again, Carson. I could tell you this: we might not catch them this year because of our bad start, But next year, we're the best team in that division, hands down. We're the best. We took over that division. So there's a lot of problems over there. Couple more comments I want to get in. Carson, I'll go to you to this one. From Eddie is saying, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. Do the Chiefs miss Bieniemy, Carson?
I think they do. I mean, you saw him lead the team to a couple Super Bowl titles with them when he was the offensive coordinator, and now he's in Washington. So I think they definitely do miss his game.
Eddie's saying Kelsey's been playing hurt. Also, he's saying let them play street ball. Jody's saying Mahomes liked the comment saying the Broncos started this turn down for them. I did see that. Michael Ronquillo is saying evening, guys. What's up, Michael?
Hey, Michael.
Okay, Carson.
Yeah, so that's kind of my Chiefs little catastrophe rant. We'll do like a rapid fire because then we got another topic that could take a little bit longer to discuss. Give me just a rapid fire surprise and disappointing team in the NFL from Week 14. Kurt.
I'm going with Paul and Kenny's Giants. I know I've been hard on them, but you know what? Hey, stepped up, prime time, Danny DeVito, baby. Very impressed. 3 in a row. Dable, good job. Disappointment, Scoops, cover your ears. And the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm so sick of their coach, too. All he's doing is he's flexing, high-fiving, whatever. Every time he's played a good team, he's got outcoached, and outcoached. Horrible. I'm going to go Eagles. Let me get Joey Clam's comments real quick because, again, I don't want to get in trouble with him. Going back, he's saying Danny Dimes is a monkey wrench for the Giants. That's his comment there. And then he's saying people lined up offside all game. Bad call in that spot. I don't agree with him on that. Hey, like you said, Carson, a penalty is a penalty.
Right.
That's on them. Don't line up off sides.
Well, yeah, and like you said too, Kurt, last year in the Super Bowl, I'm sure there's many plays that were defensive holding, but the refs went by, and then you just so happened to call it on the last play of the game, which basically gave the Chiefs the trophy. I mean, it's like it goes both ways. You kind of have to deal with it. The refs are part of the game, and I mean, the fact of the matter is he was offsides. I don't know why you're complaining.
Kenny's saying surprise team Giants, disappointment Dolphins. Jody saying surprise team Titans, disappointment Lions. Eddie's saying first primetime home game Giants won since 2016 when they beat Dallas 10-7 on Sunday Night Football.
That's true.
Yeah, I'll give you mine really quick. I'm going to go with, I think Jody hit on the nail on the head. I'm going to go with my Lions. We just didn't show up against the Chicago Bears. I know they got a little bit better on defense after the trade deadline, but it's just inexcusable. You're playing for your division, and now the division's kind of up in the air a little bit. I know we still have a 2-game lead, but the Vikings are right behind us. We'll see what the Packers do, but I'm going to go disappointing is Lions. We better figure it out. Again, I'll talk more about it on Kurt's show. I'm going to give you guys a really interesting, weird one. Surprise team. I'm going to go with the Rams. The Rams went back and forth down to the wire all the way into overtime against one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think they scored over 30 points. They ended up losing the game, but I'm telling you, man, watch out for the Rams because if they can somehow get into the playoffs, McVay, Stafford, Kupp, Aaron Donald, I mean, they're no joke, man. So I was surprised with how well the Rams played on the road against that Ravens defense. So I'll say surprise was the Rams. Paul,
Mark is saying surprise Jets, disappointment Packers.
Yeah. I had a lot of those teams. I had your Lions, but hey, Scoops isn't here. So you know what the Eagles remind me of? They remind me of the schoolyard bully that picks on the little kid and winds up kicking the little kid's butt until they meet someone else who's a bigger, better version of themselves. And then what happens? They go running back to their mama. All right. So I'm picking the Eagles as a disappointment. They got their butts kicked by the Cowboys down there. You would have thought they would have showed up for that game. And I could have picked the Giants, but I'm going to pick the Titans with nothing to play for. They're down by 2 touchdowns to a Dolphins team that's ready and primed to basically lock up the East. And what do? They come back from 2 touchdowns down, and they win on the road against the Dolphins. So I'm going to pick the Titans winning on Monday night.
Eddie is saying New York. Both quarterbacks won offensive players of the week. I bet you nobody had that parlay going.
I don't think so.
Mark is saying Mark Jr. is still not talking to me. LOL. That's right. Big Packer giant there. And Eddie's saying the Eagles coach makes me hate Dallas less. LOL.
I'll say this. I don't know how many Packer fans there were at the stadium, but every time the Packers scored, that place went crazy. They must have had 50% of the stands were filled with Packer fans, I
Packer
think.
fans travel really well.
Yeah.
Really well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of my comments and thought process, guys. I threw a bonus one in here. We can just spend a little bit of time on it. I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about it. Kind of hits close to home, too, because this guy went to my alma mater, Draymond Green. Again, I don't know if you guys have seen the play. You guys can look it up.
Yeah.
It's all over the internet. Basically, Yusuf Nurkic, a member of the Suns, he was guarding Draymond Green, kind of in like the corner right in front of the Warriors bench. And Draymond just like turned around, did a 360 and just completely clocked him right in the face, and Nurkic went down. I know our friend Ryan said he's been suspended indefinitely, but we don't really know how many games that is quite just yet. And it's just disgusting because there's no place for it in the NBA, especially violence. And, a couple weeks ago, Draymond Green was putting Rudy Gobert in a chokehold, got, I think, 5 games for that, which I think was not enough games at all. You've seen Draymond kick guys in the no-no area in NBA finals before. And I think he's going to go down as one of the dirtiest NBA players of all time. But this just happened last night, so it was kind of a last-second bonus thought question to throw on the agenda. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think what do you think the fair suspension should be for Draymond Green? 10 games, 15 games, 20 games? What do you guys think is reasonable? Kurt?
Real quick, I just saw this, Carson. If it's less than 20 games, he's going to get fined $154,000 a game.
Wow.
If it's more than 20, it's $203,000 a game.
Wow.
You know what, Carson? I'm going to be honest. And this was the same thing with what's the guy's name? The Memphis guy. Why can't I think of his name? Last year.
John Morant.
Yeah. They got to set an example by saying there's no postseason for this guy, because what they'll do, okay, no, even if you give him a 30-game suspension, they're still going to get in the postseason. He sits down, he loses a little money, and then he's going to be gearing and ready to go. Take something what's really away from these guys. No playoffs. You know what? I'd even rather them say, listen, you could play now. Postseason comes, you're not playing. And you know what? That's when teams are going to really look and say, listen, I can't have a guy like this. I mean, I can't use him when it matters. What do the games matter now? Really? What does it really matter? That's just my decision. So I don't look at a number. Give it to the meaningful game. Obviously, no Christmas Day. No, any of that. But no postseason. That's what it's got to take. No postseason.
Paul, what do you think?
Yeah. Give me a couple minutes because I have a lot to say about this. First of all, aside from the Rudy Gobert, I think he was suspended a second time also, or first time, or that was the second time. This would now be the third time. My feeling is get this guy out for as long as possible. I won't have a number. I agree with Kurt. Suspend him for not just the regular season, but also for the playoffs. I agree with you, Kurt. This guy has had so many suspensions, so many indiscretions over his years. Like you called him, Carson, he might be the dirtiest player ever in the NBA. The bottom line is, Steve, I read somewhere Steve Kerr said, oh, I spoke to him or I talked to him. Well, the expression, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. He was a free agent. What do the Warriors do? They have a chance to walk away from the guy. We've seen this act before, have a good life. But what do? They re-sign
$100 million.
Right. They re-sign this guy again. So as much as I can say this guy deserves what he gets, because I don't think he'll ever change, the Warriors probably should be saying to themselves, what the hell were we thinking bringing this guy back knowing who he is? And the only thing I could say is that unless it's really, really going to affect him, he's going to continue doing it. He doesn't understand whether or not he's going to play in the realm of what an NBA player should. I mean, I think what's his name who he hit. I think he used the phrase he's got to get help, and I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. There's something going on with him that he needs professional counseling.
Well, Eddie just put in that Draymond Green, GM Dunleavy Jr. and agent Rich Paul of Clutch Sports are expected to meet Thursday to start discussing a path of counseling and help for Green moving forward.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
we will, but again, it's not going to get better. Kenny's saying it's going to start getting, it's got to start getting to double digits, in my opinion. He is the dirtiest player I've seen since Lambeer. Worst part is he looks the picture. He is never sorry for doing it. Eddie's saying he's another Ron Artest. Jody's saying, Carson, I'll come to you. Should the NBA fine the Warriors for this?
That's a tough spot. I think it's more so on Draymond. I will say this though. I mean, he doesn't hurt not only himself, but his entire team. I mean, if he's out like 20, 30, 40 games, who knows how long, that's a big loss for the Warriors, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which was what they brought him back for. But yeah, again, it's just it's disgusting. I'm torn because again, I love Draymond growing up, Michigan State superstar. He was the man on campus, and he goes to the NBA, and he does all this stuff, which is totally not cool. And it's crazy in the post game press conference. Oh, it was an accident. I didn't mean to hurt Nurkic. You clearly clocked him right in the face. I mean, just at least man up for it and try not to hide it. But it's discouraging, and there's no place for it.
But you know what, Carson and Paul, this is why I'm saying this. I'll be quick on that. But Kenny's saying he lost his 14 parlay because of that bum. But this is an older team, right? Like their window's closing. And I think like how you really set an example of, okay, listen, you're done this year. There's no postseason. Now the Warriors in the offseason have to go and say, listen, we got Steph, can I afford to keep this guy and like I might have to ship him out. Because if he gets back for the postseason, they're still going to be okay. They're going to make their little run. He's going to be well rusted. No postseason. And you know what? Now the Warriors have to go, I don't trust this guy. And then again, if you do it again next year, no postseason again. And that's how he's going to learn. I mean, that's my opinion.
They have one of the biggest payrolls too in the NBA. I think I heard Brian Windhorst say it's like a $400 million payroll just this season between players and coaches and coaching staff. And I don't know what they're going to do. And it's unfortunate. And I mean, again, he just signed a $100 million contract. What are you going to do? Fine him $1 million? Oh, that's nothing. I'll just go back and do what I'm doing. You have to discipline him other than the fact of just finding him, because it's one thing to suspend a guy, but these guys are multimillionaires themselves. I mean, this is considered pocket change to them, and then they don't really learn their lesson. And obviously in Draymond Green's case, he hasn't learned his lesson. So they need they need to make a serious impact punishment. Like you said, guys, like no playoffs, or who knows how long it'll be, but it needs to be impactful, meaningful games where Draymond will feel horrible by doing this.
Carson, quick hitter. Jody's saying if they cut him, would any other team pick him up?
And here's the crazy thing. The fit on an NBA roster matters. Do you think Draymond Green is Draymond Green if he gets signed to any other team other than the Golden State Warriors? Steph Curry made Draymond Green. Klay Thompson was a big part of his impact. He really doesn't have much enough offensive game. He's more of a defensive player. In today's NBA, you have to score the basketball. So, again, I don't know if people would because of his character and just, he's not really a good offensive player.
Paul, I'll go to you on this one from Eddie. Knowing his history, the Warriors should have had special writing in his contract for times like this so he loses money.
Yeah, yes, no? Listen, that's why I said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If the Warriors didn't think this guy was going to change, why wouldn't they protect themselves by doing that? Now, whether that's something that's legal in NBA contracts, who the hell knows? But if I'm the Warriors, I don't bring him back unless I do have. So that's a very good comment that Eddie suggested.
There's our good friend Keith Brugman, Denver Bronco Roundup. Him, Trevor,
hey, Keith.
Albert, and of course Jody. I actually missed it last night. I was so tired. We went a little shopping and at night, and I came home 9 o'clock. All right, I told Jen, just I'm going to go on the show, say hello. Next thing you know, I woke up 11:30. Never made that one. So getting old, guys, getting old. All right,
understand. All right.
Keith is saying a 6-month game suspension. So I still say no playoffs, Keith. That's what I say.
By the way, the Warriors right now are 10-13. They may not even make the playoffs this year.
That's true.
So that's the remains to be seen. Anyway, all right, Kurt, you're up. College football.
All right, I will go real quick on this. Something I'm very excited for, and I don't know because it's you know, it's a game, right? It's a PlayStation game, but I am excited that EA Sports next year is bringing NCAA football back to PS5, PS4, Xbox, whatever it is. But the game hasn't been out, I think, since, oh my God, what was the last time? Is Carson, by any chance, or 2000? It's been a long time since they had the game. But anyway, they brought it back. But you got a couple teams. I think it's Northwestern, Notre Dame. Right now, they're not on board. So, meaning you can't have quote unquote Notre Dame in the game. You might not be able to have the stadium and the players and the colors and all that. But what is your thoughts, Carson, on one? Do you think it's a good idea that they bring the college back? Do you think like they should have quote unquote real players in it where they probably going to have to get paid and stuff like that? And then the third one is your thoughts on some college, some university saying, "No, we're not doing that."
Yeah, and I think it all depends on what the athletic director does and decides to do. I mean, obviously, these bowl games are a big deal, not only for the team, but for the university and the funding itself with the ratings and the commercials and all the attention it brings them. So I think it depends on the athletic director. And if they feel like the players can play in the game, let them play in the game. If they feel like, no, they don't deserve to, sorry. We have other teams we can respectfully put in over you guys. So I think it depends on what the athletic director does. But if they followed all the rules, they got 6 wins, put them in. If they didn't, they crossed the line, then they don't belong.
Paul, what's your thought, especially Notre Dame saying they don't want to go into this college football EA Sports game and stuff like that? What, are you a fan of that, or do you think I mean, listen, they're one of the popular schools around,
Right. I mean, listen, if there's money in it for them, then enough money, they're going to do it. I mean, let's face it, own their own network and everything. I mean, money talks, as we've discussed time and time again on this show. And if there's enough money that seems to be that's going around, everybody will want a piece of the pie, and they'll want their slice. Believe me.
Eddie's saying 2014 was the last time the EA Sports made this game. Paul, right back to you from Eddie. Is this Duke quarterback Riley Leonard? I believe is his name, right?
Yes, sir.
That's transferring to Notre Dame. Paul.
I'll probably hear somebody, there's no good Duke quarterbacks coming out of the ACC. That's sort of a slight to Daniel Jones, but that's for another show. Anyway, I think he's supposed to be pretty good. Duke had a very good team this year, very good season for Duke football. So, listen, they rated the ACC last year last season for Sam Hartman. Go right back and get him out of the portal, and let's see what happens.
Okay, my second one, I'm going to do this real quick. Just a quick though. I know last year there's been a lot of talk that preseason rankings, and it causes a lot of problems going forward. How do you rank teams you've never seen them play? Yada yada. Do you think, Carson, especially now there's a 12-team playoff coming in, all kinds of super conferences and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Is there, in your opinion, do you think they should still have preseason rankings, or what some people suggested, like after 3 or 4 weeks, now rankings come out? Like have no rankings, no AP poll, nothing until they play 3-4 games.
And it would make more sense to do that, right? Because again, you could rank a team number 1 in the country, and then if they lose 3 games, it's like, well, why did you put them number 1 to start the year? So I think everybody should be equal, and you play your schedule, and depending on what your team does on the field, I think that's how you grade them. But I agree, Kurt. It's you're ranking these teams before they've even played a football game. So how can you rank them before they've even played? So I get why, Michigan's number 2 in the country, that's great. And, bring more ratings, and I'm looking forward to Michigan football or whoever your school is.
Right.
But yeah, I think truthfully, it should be, let the rankings matter after you play the game on the field.
Paul.
I'm going to disagree. There's so many different forums now that come out with preseason rankings, whether it's Sports Illustrated, AP, Coaches Poll, this and that and the other thing, and now with so many million other social media uh, posts, I, it's fun. It's people talk. They do it a lot, probably to sell, media types of things. But I don't really mind it that much. But I do agree that maybe instead of waiting the last 2-3 weeks of the season, start it maybe in mid-season. That way we have a better understanding of who the 12 playoff teams might be, as opposed to the last 2-3 weeks of the season.
Eddie's saying, going back to the video game, I love playing with my favorite teams on video, so it would be a disappointment if Notre Dame isn't there. Eddie then is saying 12-team playoff makes no sense to me because the conference titles won't be as important. I agree with Eddie on that, man. I really do. Kenny's saying don't rank teams for playing Division II schools. Equal, like Carson said, especially with a 12-team playoff now, start on a level playing field. And he also says, I don't want a team ranked top 5, losing 2 games and still being ranked near the top 12. So that's my college football, guys. I just wanted to throw those two. Oh, I'm sorry. One more. Kenny had one more. And let me just get to it because I know he'll be yelling at me if I don't. He said, is there another bowl besides a New Year's 6, and obviously the college playoff bowl that you're looking forward to, Paul?
I don't know if this counts. Are we counting the Fiesta Bowl? Is that one of the college?
That's New York 6. I believe
that's
New
York 6. All right. Because all right. Let me just say this: Oregon, number 8th ranked, is playing number 23 Liberty, and I think that's going to be an interesting game. I want to see how 23 ranked Liberty fares against one of the top teams in the country. The only 2 losses they had were obviously against Washington. So this could be another Georgia TCU game, but it still would be interesting to see how the outcome of that game is going to be.
Kenny's going James Madison versus Air Force because I know both teams will be playing hard to win. I'm going to throw one out there. And I mean, it lost a little luster because I know Dylan Gabriel transferred from Oklahoma to Oregon, but I got the Alamo Bowl, Arizona and Oklahoma. Oklahoma Venerables did a great job turning them around. And Arizona is a team, not just this year, they're number 14. They've come out of like nowhere, but they're saying next year they're going to be a very good team in the country. So I'm looking forward again. I think 2 good programs, 2 teams that are going to come and, be prepared to want to win that game. So I'm going to say Arizona, Oklahoma. Carson, what about you?
Yeah, just a fun one. I always love seeing this every year because usually it happens. North Carolina, West Virginia in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, only because instead of Gatorade, they usually dump mayonnaise on the head coach. It's always funny to see. So I would say the Duke Mayo Bowl. But yeah, we've talked about this before in the past. Bowl season isn't bowl season anymore. And it's unfortunate because all these players are going through the transfer portal. There's a deadline they have to do. And they're either going to sit out and prepare for the NFL draft or they're just going to walk and leave out on their team. So as a football fan, it sucks because you're not seeing the best players on the field. That's why Joey and I talked about this before. It's impossible to bet on these games because you have no idea who's legit and who isn't because you're starting your younger guys that are taking over the older guys who are preparing for either the transfer portal or the NFL draft. So it's impossible to predict.
It is. Yeah. It's a very good point, Carson. It really is. All right. All right. So that's my college football.
Nice.
Thank you, Kurt. Good job. All right. Let's quickly do MLB hot stove. We know last week the big signing was Shohei Ohtani, making ridiculous, crazy, never before seen money, signing with the Dodgers. So let me ask you guys, is the Ohtani money bad for baseball or good? Carson, what do you think?
I think it's an outrageous number in the first place for a guy who plays a children's game. This goes for any professional athletes. And, the whole debate becomes there's neurosurgeons and people saving lives every day. And there's guys who play a children's game and sit on the bench, but they're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. So I think, yes, from a rating financial viewership standpoint, it's going to make the Dodgers back the money because Ohtani obviously the face of baseball. He's got a whole country behind him. I think I sent this to you guys in the group chat. I think I read something which was ridiculous. I think Ohtani being in an Angels uniform alone brought the Angels over $300 million just in ticket sales, merch, and ratings. So
Wow.
a couple years, the Dodgers will get it back just because of the face of Ohtani and who he is. But in terms of, listen, you're paying this guy, in my belief, to be a hitter and a pitcher. But now people are saying, oh, he's going to designate to just hit. If you're paying a guy $700 million, he better be hitting 400. I mean, I'm sorry. You paid this guy to pitch and to hit. If he just hits, I don't understand why that he's getting paid that much. But from a business standpoint, I completely understand because he's worth it versus for the eyeballs and the ratings.
Sure. Kurt?
Listen, Carson nailed it 100%. I'm the biggest sports fan around, but I mean, that money's just insane. I mean, you talk about the president of the United States and what they're making compared to this guy's contract. And like you said, surgeons saving lives and first responders. And, it's, or you got people like our military and, defending the country and not knowing if they're going to make it tomorrow. And this guy's making $700 million. He's nowhere near worth $700 million. He's the best player in baseball. But again, it's because you're paying these other guys all this money. You have to pay him the most. But Jody's even saying, will he even pitch again? It's crazy. Eddie's saying this one. I didn't even know this. He's saying that Ohtani has an opt-out if any of the top executives from the Dodgers get fired. There's an opt-out.
Yeah, I read that today too.
So that's crazy. Jody's saying for the first 10 million, he's only getting 20 million. I'll tell you, his end of his retirement life is going to be pretty damn good.
Really.
They
said
said
it's really quickly.
Carson.
Baseball contracts are completely idiotic to me. They make no sense whatsoever. Cough, cough. I saw a guy who's arguably the greatest hitter of all time, Miguel Cabrera. Yeah, he had his prime. He had his great years. But I'm sorry, the last 5 years, he completely sucked. And can you be consistently dominant for 10 straight years on the baseball field where you're considered to be amazing when you get out 70% of the time?
Yeah.
No, you're right. Eddie's saying they sold the most jerseys in a 48-hour period in history on Fanatic.
Wow. I'll just respond quickly and say, from a baseball standpoint, from a player standpoint, but every player should be sending him a thank you card and saying thank you, because you have set the bar for us, especially with agents like Scott Boras. But from a family standpoint, from taking your kids to see a baseball game. I mean, the Dodgers have those hot dogs. They call them Dodger dogs. Each Dodger dog now is going to be $100 a hot dog. So, good luck to that. All right. Who do you think will be the biggest threat for the Dodgers winning the pennant or the World Series? Kurt?
I mean, I guess I still got to put Atlanta in there, right? Phillies, maybe. I'm going to say Atlanta or the Phillies in the NL. AL, I'm still going to put the Astros there. I just don't. Baltimore's young. Listen, the Yankees getting Soto's big. I mean, he's the best player on their team now, but I'm still not sold. They don't have pitching. We'll see what they do. So I'll go Astros in the AL, Braves and Phillies in the NL.
Carson?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Kurt. You got to go with the Houston Astros in the American League, and then Braves. I could see a surprise team, maybe like the Padres in the other league, the National League. But yeah, I'm with Kurt here. Either Braves or Padres or Astros.
Paul, Eddie's saying D-backs. Kenny's saying D-backs, good young pitching. Small ball. If Yankees get some pitching and Yankees get, what's his name? Yamamoto. Is that how you say his name? Yamamoto.
Yeah. We'll talk about them in a second.
And others, maybe the Yankees. Keith is saying my poor Angels with some little crying emojis. Eddie's saying next year Soto is going to sign close to $600 million.
Yeah. Quickly, I think the Phillies might have the best shot. As good as the Braves have been, I can see the Phillies with a fully healthy Bryce Harper, and they re-signed Aaron Nola, so I can see the Phillies challenging them.
Clams is
Uh,
saying the Dodgers need better pitch. Their pitching has to be better though, even where
yeah,
they are.
yeah. Um, Speaking of Yamamoto, where do you think he's going to sign, Carson?
Boy, I've been hearing rumors possibly the Tigers. If that happens, that'd be amazing. I think he goes to I think an American League team. Like I said, maybe the Astros or maybe a contending team that's looking for a nice young player. So I think an American League team like the Astros or a contender.
Kurt?
Eddie's saying Yamasoto will be the nickname when he joins the Yankees. Kenny's saying Yankees also. I'm still going to go Dodgers. I mean, they were teammates, right? Him and Ohtani, weren't they teammates?
I don't know if they were teammates,
Or
but
maybe on the
obviously from the
Classic or
from
something,
the
right?
World Baseball
Yeah.
Classic.
I'm still going to go Dodgers. I think the Dodgers have something up their sleeve if they're deferring all this money and doing that. So
Mhm.
I'm still going to go Dodgers.
All right. I mean, a few weeks ago we talked about this. I said the Mets. Uncle Stevie took his private jet and flew to Japan to meet him in Japan. So I'll stick with the Mets until we hear otherwise. But we'll see what happens with him.
Mark
think-
is saying the Mets are the front runners in his opinion.
Yeah.
Saying
he's supposed to sign in the next couple of weeks, so maybe he'll sign right before Christmas, and it'll be a happy Christmas present for some team and fans.
Paul, real quick, rapid fire for you and Carson. I'll go to you first. Two people are asking, does baseball really need a salary cap now?
And I'm going to say yes, and that's from a guy who has the richest owner in baseball.
Carson.
Yeah, 100%.
Eddie's saying Freeman, Betts, and Ohtani were at the meeting today in LA.
Meeting Yamamoto?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mark is agreeing, saying yes, there should be a salary cap.
Yeah. All right, last question, guys. Is it or could it be one and done or Juan and done for Juan Soto with the Yankees, or do the Yankees re-sign him to a multi-year contract? Kurt?
Listen, there's a lot of smoke around that he wants to go into the Mets. I mean, I think the Yankees and I mean, listen, the Yankees better sign him, right? But I don't know. I mean, I think his career is gonna be in New York. It's either gonna be Yankees or Mets, but it's gonna be his decision. If he really wants to play for the Mets, he's gonna go to the Mets. I mean, so I don't know. I'm going to say it's 50-50. Well, I think it all depends how they do. And then listen, how crazy, Uncle Stevie's going to get with his money.
Yeah. I mean, and also Uncle Hal, based on how much, now that the bar has been set so much higher, he may have to go up in the stratosphere with Ohtani money for him. Carson?
Yeah, I agree with Kurt. I think it depends on what he does this season. If he plays great, I think you extend him again, but you got to be careful with that because you've seen it so many times before in the past with baseball players where they have a great year or two and then they just aren't the same. So if I'm the Yankees, just 1-year deal, prove it, and go from there. I never understood the 10-year, 8-year, 9-year giant extensions. I never understood that.
Kenny's saying, I think Soto and the Yankees shocked the world, and Soto gets re-signed, and Judge trades talk up in the offseason. Eddie's saying the Dominican population is so strong in New York that he will stay in New York. But which New York is the question?
Yeah, I mean, Boris, he's had the history of taking his guys into free agencies, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Soto, the Yankees don't make that trade, I don't think, unless they feel very strongly that they can re-sign him. So it remains to be seen. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
All right.
Nice.
Let's get final thoughts. Again, I'll start it. Guys, great show tonight. Again, we missed Scoops. We missed Kenny. Hopefully they're both back next week. We do our Christmas show next week, right? That's the last week.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, hey, enjoy your weekend. Get some Christmas shopping done. Saturday night, Carson, baby. Let's go. I'll be at the Garden at 3:30. Jen got me birthday tickets to watch
Nice.
St. John's, and I said, let's
Nice.
go early because
Mhm.
we're getting the hell out of there. We're getting home. I want to be home by 6 to regroup a little, relax, watch a little pregame, and let's go. We got a huge one. Again, I'm just pumped up from 1-5 to where this team has gone.
Yep.
I'm pumped up for it. So, but I'll tell you, and I'll talk about this in the Broncos show. This is a big game for them because, it's not good that the Lions haven't been playing well and they came off a loss. That's
Mhm.
not good for the Broncos because, they're hungry now. There's Jody saying, let's go. 10 o'clock, Jody, let's go. Carson, final thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, looking forward to being with you, Kurt, on your show. Everybody try to tune into that. That'll be fun. Kurt and I will go back at it, give you guys a breakdown of the Broncos-Lions matchup on Saturday. But yeah, good job again to Paul and Kenny for putting again the agenda. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.
Kenny saying, great job and great show, fellas. Eddie's saying Kurt wants to be in bed by 8. LOL. There'll be no falling asleep Saturday, and I can promise you that. Kenny saying, looking forward to Paul's Christmas parodies. Carson knows. Keith is saying the only time I won't be rooting for Carson's Lions, Giants. Great show. A lot. Carson's Lions. Great show, baby. And Mr. Rosen.
Great show, guys. We miss Scoops and Kenny, of course, but we'll see them next week. And Saturday night, I just want to see a good game. I'm gonna be the Switzerland of the two of you guys, and just say, let's have a good game. If it can end in a tie, I hope, but let the better team win. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Great show as usual. I'll see Kenny over the weekend with our Giants. New York Football Giants talk will be fun and exciting, and let's go.
Hey, Manny DeLima, our good friend. Manny, check in at 10 o'clock. We're doing a Bronco Lions special. But talking about Manny DeLima, I got one rapid fire. Carson, how impressed were you with the Cowboys win Saturday night?
They're legit, man. I know we've bashed the Cowboys in years past, but you beat the best team in the NFL by double digits. That's legit. I don't care what field it's on. Eagles just came off a Super Bowl appearance. Cowboys are for real. They have a legit chance to compete with the 49ers and win it all.
And my last one for you, Carson, I'll get to Paul. Do they have to win the division and get that probably number 2 seed, or can they still go on a Super Bowl run if they have to go on the road as a wild card team?
I think they have a better chance if they're home, but Cowboys have had some impressive wins on the road this year too. So I think anytime, any place, anywhere for the Cowboys, or for any team that matter. I mean, Kenny and Paul know this. Giants got in as the last team in the playoffs. Eli won a Super Bowl, so anything can happen.
Paul, what's your thoughts? You're the NFC East guy on here too. A couple things. Are the Cowboys legit Super Bowl contender? And part 2, is this something though? Do you change your mind if they don't win the division?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously they destroyed the Giants the 2 games they played. The one thing that on both offense and defense, they are maybe the fastest team in the NFL. I mean, their speed, okay, the Dolphins, you can throw them in there, but the speed on defense that team has this year is incredible. And same thing on offense. They just seem to be in a different zone and some of the games that they've played, it's startling the way that they are playing this year. So I don't think it's going to really matter to them where they play. I think Prescott, Dak has finally maybe matured to the level that everyone expects him to, and I think they have a legitimate chance.
Guys, I want to go one more minute if you have a second, because Eddie is saying compete with the 49ers. Did you not watch that first meeting? LOL. Agree or disagree with Eddie Carson on that?
When it's playoff atmosphere, anything can happen, and injuries are going to happen. They're going to occur. You got 60 minutes of football. May the best team win. A lot can happen these next 4 weeks.
And Keith is saying, I agree with this comment, because Keith is saying Cowboys just need to focus on getting past the first round of the playoffs. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back to 2013, right, with the Broncos, because 2012 is where the team got hot. We got, we might have been the best team in football. I think they won like 10 in a row, and we got upset in Baltimore. Friggin' Raheem Moore, whatever. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, that year that I remember being in 2013, just saying, getting by that first game, like it was like more pressure on that. And then if we get by the Chargers, we'll win the AFC Championship. We lost in the Super Bowl again, but I don't know. Like I have that feeling sometimes that like, okay, Cowboys choke, playoffs, Dak, can he get by that playoff? Paul, am I like crazy to say like if they get to that first win again, it might be easier? Like I know it's tougher teams, but like mentally, you got to get by that hurdle, like keep saying. Is that a crazy statement?
No, it's not. I mean, you get that monkey off your back, that first win. I mean, how many years that the Cowboys have gone where they expect to win the first game and they wind up losing? Okay, last year they beat a bad Bucs team the first weekend of the playoffs, and then they wound up losing in the division round. But you get that first win. Okay, you know what? We got this. Let's move on. If I can go back to 2007, Giants just got in.
Yep.
They were going on the road. First game against the Bucs. All right, let's win. They won. They got confidence, and then the snowball just kept rolling the side of the mountain. Next thing you know, you win the next two games and you're in the Super Bowl. So yeah, it can happen.
Do any one of you guys want to have take a shot at Manny saying the quote unquote the new cadence from Dak? Here we go.
Here we go.
Anybody want a shot at that? Because I mean, listen, he's intimidating Omaha.
Yeah, right.
Omaha.
Yeah.
What do you think, Carson or Paul? You got one or no?
No, I mean, I was just going to come back and say Omaha, but hey, they all have a different stick. What the hell,
And keep saying, Kurt, look at Denver this year beating KC and winning a road game in Buffalo. Carson, you nailed it. It is, and then pressure gets on them, right? Like, oh, the Niners have to win, like pressure gets on, and it's like you're kind of free a little bit, like. Playing
I will say this: if they go up to Buffalo and lay an egg in Buffalo on Sunday, then everyone will start saying, "Oh, look at here we go, same old Cowboys." So
yeah, that's true. All right, boys, great show. And my Bronco show will be on at 10. Carson is joining me tonight, so please join that. We'll have some fun with that one. And please check in for tomorrow, Wits and Wages at 6, Clams and Claws at 11 on Saturday. And Kenny and Paul, I believe you guys are doing something Saturday. Is that
probably Saturday? I think it's Saturday night about 7, but we'll confirm it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, boys. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for commenting.